We look at the internet, right? When we look at this, and I think of this, when we look at the internet, what a marvel of modern day technology and innovation is, and that's exactly what's going to push us out of the workplace. But anyway, so it connected us. We could get any information at any time we wanted, anywhere, on anything. All of us. We have all got Encyclopedia Britannica, not on steroids, brother, but on the entire drug scenario of the universe. But has it made us more educated, more empowered, more interesting, more informed, more enlightened? No. Why? Why hasn't it done that? Well, let's think about it. When writing first came around, right, it was in temples, and it was the domain of the social elite, the royalty and the high priest and this thing. And so much of the subject matter of early writing was to do with religion and spirituality and esoteric arts, etc. But then we move a couple of thousand years until the printing press, when everything changed. Now the printing press made information available to the literate. So there was a surge in literacy, and people they broadened their horizons, not within the scope of what they can see, but with the scope of knowledge. But it was books. It took time, and it didn't go down. It was still hard to get, and it was a process, a couple of 100 years before it got to a position where, of course, we got into magazines and stuff, right? And then, of course, electronic media arrived. Radio, still great. We turn around, wow, we listen to the radio. I remember the days of squad cars and all these funny little programs 40 years ago, literally 50 years ago. But we used to listen to it sequentially. There were only about 4 or 5 radio stations, 3 or 4 radio stations. So you could listen to Highveld or Springbok or LM radio or something like that. So still, it wasn't really impacting that much. It was still broadening our horizons, more on entertainment, music, not talk programs, these series programs and stuff like that. But didn't really, of course it impacted, but it wasn't changing direction. Now we get into, and then of course movies are the same, bigger, saw movies, but it was still sequential. We then got TV, sequential TV, the same thing. Broaden our scope, but we watched the news, then we watched the entertainment program, then the variety program, then a bit of news, and then the national anthem at the end, or something like that. So it was sequential information. Move into electronic media, internet, and online. Now, all of a sudden, we don't have to watch stuff sequentially. We can skip around as fast as we like. And loaders, people, information owners, realize that the attention span to grab a person is less than 6 seconds. And if you don't pull them in 6 seconds, boom, they're gone. So people are jumping around. No, I don't like this, I don't like this, I don't like that. Boom, I like this, boom, read through. Watch the movie, much easier. And they are starting to polarize their education. We are selecting, okay, we're going for personal development. That's a good one. We always want to develop ourselves, okay? We go for movies and entertainment. We go for instant gratification, extreme sports, because we can't do it, but my God, it's lucky to be there, huh? Sport, obviously. And we have these big chasms of empty space that used to be occupied by a much more balanced educational platform. People used to know a bit about history, a bit about geography, a bit about poetry, a bit about the arts, a bit about the world, travel, geography. Americans don't even know where Africa is, for God's sake. My God. I wonder if the Chinese do. Well, the Chinese do. I mean, it's part of their land now, isn't it? But anyway, so that was the point. That social media has influenced adults to select how they are developing themselves intellectually. And we are leaving gaps. That's why we talk formal education. People say, half this stuff is not necessary. Of course it isn't necessary. We're not becoming computers. We're trying to be human beings, not simply cogs in the wheel of a very suspect progress. We are completely out of kilter with the world. We are completely out of kilter with life. Our beliefs are not in kilter what we know reality is. There are so many paradoxes and juxtapositions on our perception of ourselves that it is confusing. I mean, take the communication even further. My son, I've got two sons, very bright boys, very clever guys. But the one, when he was growing up, he was playing Minecraft before he played with Lego, because his older brother taught him Minecraft. His other brother was a boffinicle on computer games. Hectic. Sorry, guilty. We let them play too much. Nightmare. But anyway, he was playing Minecraft. Amazing stuff does. I can't even work it out. But then I gave him some Lego blocks, and he started building them, and he built them up and then across. And he couldn't understand when it fell over. He didn't understand gravity, because Minecraft didn't have gravity. And he was living in virtual space more than real space. And then, before I sort of gripped it by the scruff of the neck, and not him, but the situation, I noticed that his spelling became diabolical for playing these games. He was spelling like computer people spell, you know what I mean? And he didn't have the ability, he was lacking the ability to describe something. Because you describe like a computer game, you know. I went, what's that word that he always used? Where you appear, like beam me up Scottish. Anyway, that materialize over there, bang, whoop, walk out, whoop, LOL. I'm like, what? Oh my God. And it was important, two things, is to say, listen, there is a bigger world. Do not limit the scope of your understanding at this age of what you are seeing in the world. Don't limit that, because that is all you will presume the world will be. Two things. If you're going to be jumping online, your kids, let them see educational programs. Let them see the game. I didn't take him off computers. Why? Because their lives are going to be governed by that. Everything is online. As we know, today, COVID has turned around and put us all in a different space. Kids in 20 years' time. So saying, okay, well, I want to create a Jungle Charlie is all great if he's going to be a tour operator, and good for tour operators. But in this world, he's still going to have to be techno-efficient. And kids knock us into touch. They're on a complete, it's so embarrassing getting your kids to come and help you when you fuck up, isn't it? But anyway, this communication online has also impaired our ability to communicate person to person. Because WhatsApp and this kind of stuff, we can orchestrate, we can plan, we can sanitize our communication to each other, business, pleasure, etc. We can clean it up. And please God, you do clean it up. But when we start to come and talk to each other, we are limited in what we're exposing ourselves to, because we can choose. We're not forced to watch a documentary on the Sphinx. You know what I mean? So now we can choose, which means all of us have got such limited vocabularies, limited interests, that our conversations are stilted. And that is stilting our own progress. So it's good to allow him to become techno-literate. It really is. The kids are going to. The whole world is going to be different. But it is us as humanity and as parents to guide them to, because we know the scope of life out there. We know how broad life is. We want kids to enjoy the life and understand the magnificence of this planet. But we have to get them out to actually go and experience that. And experience life is not just a selection of instant gratifications and thrills. There is responsibility. There is a debt to society, a debt to family, and a debt to our planet. That is the meaning of life. The meaning of life, as I believe, is to maintain the planet, which is the furtherance of creation, which is a process. It was not a Las Vegas trick. Creation is unfolding because there is no timeline to God, is there? To the Creator, there's no beginning or no. So it's saying I've got to do this in a couple of seconds because someone watching the clock doesn't make sense. So creation is unfolding, and we are playing a role in that creation. The role we play is governed by what we think is our free will. But hopefully it is also governed by intelligence to understand we are the gatekeeper to our own future on this planet. If we allow ourselves to destroy the planet through ignorance, through financial interests, through stupidity, for any reason whatever, if we allow it, we won't destroy the earth, but allow it to be inadequate or not suitable for occupation by humanity and life, creation won't shed a tear. It's just part of the process. But we will have not stood up to our responsibility as the caretakers of the garden, not the owners and bosses of the garden, and make sure we maintain it in a way that makes our kids proud and gives the planet a future for hundreds and hundreds of